Welcome, or if you're watching on replay, whether you're watching live or on replay, welcome to the Thought of the Day. My name is Andrea Sampson. I'm the CEO and founder of Talk Boutique and the Thought Leader Academy. You might be familiar with some of the lives that I do across many different channels, but this is a new one that we've just added, and this is our second thought of the day. But come back every day, usually somewhere close to noon, a little before, a little after. Schedules do tend to be a little challenging. So I'm trying to show up when there's a little hole in my schedule and I can be here and just chat with you. So today, the thought of the day. Yesterday we talked about storytelling and we went through a story spine and talked about how to tell an effective story. Well, one of the things that I didn't mention, although we talked a bit about it, is what's the thing that every good storyteller knows to have before they tell their story? And often it's the piece that gets missed when we're maybe not as good at storytelling. Well, that one thing is what I like to call a point, or actually a statement of purpose. A statement of purpose is also your core idea. It's the reason that you're telling that story. It's what you want your listener to take away. One thing, you get one thing. Now, often when we're telling a story or doing a presentation or giving a talk, we have many things we want our audience to hear. But what's really important is they take one thing away. And so the many things that we're having the audience listen to should ladder up to one thing, that statement of purpose, that idea. And when we're developing that core idea, that statement of purpose, what we're doing is we're doing it through the lens of a what, a how, and a why, because this is the structure of every idea. And I know that so many of you are familiar with this concept from Simon Sinek and his great book, Start With Why, and his TED Talk as well. And he absolutely is right. Start with why is absolutely essential in terms of connecting with your audience. But when you're building an idea, we actually don't start with why. We start with the what, because the what is your topic. It's the thing you're talking about. It's contextually what the audience is there to hear about. And topics are not differentiated and they're not meant to be. They're meant to be something that people are aware of. So your what is the beginning of your idea or your statement of purpose. Then we move to a how. Now, the how is where you differentiate. The how is how you specifically address the what, the topic. So, how is really the activation of that what, and it is through the lens of you, your experience, your knowledge, your culture, even your background. All of that comes together in a half of a sentence that says how you're specifically addressing that what, that topic. The what and the how form the basis of that statement of purpose, that idea. And for many of us, it feels very complete. It is in fact what we want to talk about. But the challenge is that we have an audience that we want to draw in, and this is where the why comes in. The why is the impact of your what and how. It's the results, the outcome, the way in which that what and how actually create change or impact. And that why is what the audience really needs to know. And so the why absolutely has to be put onto your what and your how so that you complete your statement of purpose. So when you take your what, your how, and your why, and you put them together, you now have a complete idea. And it is the one thing that your audience will take away from your story, your talk, your anything that you're doing. It's the one thing you want them to take away. It's also the highest order of all the other messages that you're telling. So everything should fit underneath that statement of purpose. Think of it as the premise in an argument. Because when we're communicating, we are always in some way conveying information that's new for our audience. That's why we're communicating. And so, how are you supporting that premise in a way that the audience can hear it, can understand it, and can remember it? And that's where story comes in, of course. So, your what, your how, and your why can be summarized in one sentence. And what I like to do, I have a little framework that I use to test it. And it sounds like this. Today, I'm going to talk to you about what, and I'll show you how, because why. Now, when heard in that way, you, as the thinker of that thought, as the teller of that idea, will immediately know whether or not you've got your what, your how, and your why right, because you'll feel it. You'll hear it and you'll say, no, that's not quite right. We need to go back and you need to work on it. Now, that little framework is really meant as a testing framework. It's not the way you would say it in your talk because it sounds a little bit set up, right? Today, I'm going to talk to you about what, and I'll show you how, because why. So you say it in your own words when you've got it right. But when you're writing your statement of purpose, what you want is to hear it in that format so that you know whether or not it's what you want to talk about and it's what you want your audience to take away. Now, we work with so many clients on this very thing. It's actually the very first thing I do with every client when I'm working with them is we establish their core idea, their core thought leadership. And we do it through the lens of a what, a how, and a why. And we have this documented. And if you're interested in getting that framework, head on over to YouTube and download it from our many frameworks that we have there. So there are videos that explain this very concept in a bit more detail, and you can just go into the show notes on those and find the idea framework and download it. The YouTube channel that you should be looking for, if you're not already on YouTube, is the Thought Leader Academy with Andrea Sampson. You'll find me talking about many of the things that I'm talking about right now in our thought of the day. I'll be back tomorrow with another thought. So watch for me sometime around noon tomorrow. And what's important is that tomorrow I have a very special announcement. So make sure that you watch for my announcement. And if you miss it, just go on to my into any of my social channels and you'll see the video there. So we are broadcasting live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Instagram and Facebook. So make sure that you check out any of those channels and you will see our very special announcement tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching live or watching the replay. I'm Andrea Sampson. This is your thought of the day.